So it seems the entire black community has been taken by storm by this Karmelo Anthony case. It's been a very emotional case, not only for black people, but it seems like for white people as well. Now, I don't want to leave out the obvious. This case is quite racially charged, and that's going to be one of the details that we actually explore in this video. One thing I will tell you is that I'm a little bit different than a lot of people from what I've observed. I actually don't like speaking on things that I don't know about, or I'm not positive that I can confirm for you. And since I haven't actually looked at the entire transcript of this case, I ain't actually looked at none of it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about specific witness testimony or any real details that I can't verify myself. I've heard so many contradictory versions of events that I'd rather not discuss those details at all than just blindly believe what people are telling me. What I do want to talk about are some of the things that I believe could have led to a different outcome in this case. Now, let me be clear. I'm no lawyer. I'm just a thinker, an intellectual, if you will. So I like thinking. I think thinking is necessary, and something that we all need is to critically think, an exploration of thought. And these are ideas that would obviously need to be discussed with legal professionals and people who practice law. But as I've been talking on panels and watching this case unfold, these are some of the thoughts that I had that I feel may have changed the outcome of Karmelo Anthony's case. Lead attorney actually made a video a year ago, where at that time he called that the parents have made a grave mistake when it comes to the way that they're handling this case, and that they may have costed their son close to a life sentence based on that mistake.
Many of you were surprised at a point that I made in my last video on how Carmelo Anthony's family has actually costed Carmelo extra years in prison. So many extra years. So let's get to it. Now, let me explain on how Carmelo's mother basically sentenced her own son Carmelo to an extra 10 to 30 more years in prison, and what she can do about it now to try to fix it.
Section 1. Empathy and sympathy, the foundation of everything. In my simplistic mind, this should have been the first priority. Before any legal strategy, before any GoFundMe, before any public framing, the first move should have been the human one. Reaching out to the Metcalf family and expressing genuine sorrow for their loss, right? Not just as a legal tactic, but as a human being who understands regardless of what happened. A 17-year-old's boy's life was gone, and a family is devastated. Everything else flows from whether or not the foundation was laid. The second part, the missed opportunity to pray with Austin's father.
The most important person alive in Carmelo's case is actually Jeff Metcalf, the father of the young man that Karmelo Anthony killed, Austin Metcalf. The father, Jeff Metcalf, is the linchpin to Carmelo's entire future. Let me tell you that in a murder case where the victim is gone, the case lives on through the victim's next of kin. When a parent has to bury his child, everyone looks to that parent to gauge how to react. Judges consciously and subconsciously look at the parent's facial expression when they're testifying on the witness stand. Prosecutors run all their plea offers through the parents. Reporters knock on the parents' doors for statements, and they aim their cameras at the parents when the verdicts drop. And the jurors, oh my goodness. The jurors hang on every word of the parents, notice every little movement, every gesture. In this case, Jeff Metcalf, the father, is not just a spectator in the case, he's the conscience of the entire community. If you win Jeff, you win all the sympathy. But if you alienate him, you can go to prison for life. Now, months ago, Jeff Metcalf, the father, he did something unthinkable. Reporters, as they always do, shoved a microphone in this grieving father's face and asked him, "How do you feel about this Karmelo Anthony?" Do you know what he said? Jeff Metcalf said, and I quote, "You know what? I've already forgiven this person. Already." Now, that is amazing. It's amazing that Jeff would have the strength to do that, because I would be incapable of that. The maturity, the wisdom, the strength, I just would not have. When a father makes a statement like that, a statement of forgiveness, the entire Carmelo team has to drop everything. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Your entire legal strategy has to change. I can tell you as an attorney that you call an emergency meeting with all the lawyers, all the family, maybe PR consultants if the family has means for that. You bring everyone together to get them on the same page and let them know that this case will revolve around one person, Jeff Metcalf, the father So when Carmelo's mother heard what Jeff said about her son, what do you think that this lady did? She handed the microphone at a press conference to the baby-shaking minister of justice. And at that press conference, where Jeff Metcalf showed up to pray with the family, the baby-shaking minister called the police and had Jeff kicked out. Like, can you believe it? They kicked Jeff Metcalf, who came there to pray. They kicked him out of the press conference. The entire spectacle went viral within an hour. And do you know what else? Carmelo Anthony's prison sentence was prolonged by 10 to 25 years within that same hour.
When Jeff Metcalf showed up to the press conference, uninvited, yes, but he showed up as a grieving father. That was actually a moment, a key moment. Had someone from the Anthony side walked up to that man, acknowledged his pain, offered to pray with him, offered any gesture of shared humanity, the entire narrative changes in that moment. That Alexander called Metcalf's appearance inappropriate and a disrespect to the dignity of his son. Then they had that man escorted out by the police. That response right there hardened the battle lines that didn't really need to be hardened. The restitution conversation, I think this is a big deal to me. Proactively offering a form of financial restitution to the family. Y'all made a lot of money on GoFundMe to help support this case and getting your son free. Now, offering this money is not an omission of guilt at all, just a gesture of human accountability. It could have been transformative, raising almost $700,000, offering nothing to acknowledge the Metcalf's family loss, while they spent it on living in relocation. That was a devastating optic. This is what an offer of restitution says. We understand our life was lost and we want to do right by this family, even while we maintain that our son acted in self-defense. Courts and juries notice this. It doesn't concede guilt, but it demonstrates where you stand morally. They got the wrong spokesperson, a man named Dominique Alexander. And I won't say much about this because I'll let the lead attorney tell you what he knows.
I explained in my last video that Carmelo's mother apparently hired a family spokesperson, one Dominique Alexander. This Dominique calls himself a minister of justice, whatever that is. Dominique is a convicted felon. He's alleged to have beaten his girlfriend. Then he got a new girlfriend, and when that girlfriend left out of the apartment, the good minister grabbed that woman's 2-year-old baby and shook him until that baby got brain damage. The good minister pled guilty in that case to felony charges and was in prison. Now, this is the man that Carmelo's mom chose to speak on Carmelo and the family's behalf. The good baby-shaking minister. The minister did exactly what you would expect a convicted felon to do when handling Carmelo's case. He absolutely destroyed it. How? He ostracized the most important person in Carmelo's case.
Obviously, this was a move that they didn't need to make. Hiring somebody with questionable history, especially in regards to violence, just wasn't the best move. Not to mention this person just probably didn't advise them very well. What the press conference should have actually looked like. The press conference itself became chaotic before it even started. Once Jeff Metcalf arrived, they created a confrontation, and that overshadowed everything. To me, I think the parents should have been more visible. They should have been more human. The parents only broke their silence the day after the trial ended. The Metcalf family was visibly present, visibly grieving, human throughout the whole process. It was a stark contrast between the two families. I think Carmelo's family needed to be seen consistently, not as activists or fundraisers, but as a mother and father who were devastated by what happened. Imagine getting a call that your son killed somebody when you're at work doing your best to provide for your family. And then imagine getting a phone call that your son has been killed while you're at work. Imagine that feeling. Both of these parents quite possibly were doing the best that they could do to raise their children. And in reality, sometimes it's just not enough. Your children have free will and will make decisions. Austin didn't have to tell him to leave. Austin didn't have to put his hands on him. Carmelo didn't have to stab him. Each and every one of these decisions could have changed what happened that day. And none of these parents had a say in it. So every family involved deserves empathy and sympathy. Instead of being apart for no apparent reason to me, I thought they should have came together.
There was no remorse. They showed Jeff that there would be no mutual prayers, there would be no reconciliation. Showed that man nothing but hostility and aggression. The same hostility, the same aggression maybe that was at that track meet that fateful afternoon, that was under that tent. some of you are not going to appreciate how important this father is. You just don't know how these criminal sentences work. I see your comments on YouTube and Twitter. You think, oh, this person killed that person, so put the killer in prison and throw away the key. Put him there for life. That's what you guys say. You have no idea. I will tell you that people kill people all the time, and the sentences range from insanity on the low end to insanity on the high end. Now, who controls where the sentence is going to fall? At the end of the day, it is the sentiment of the community that will decide. And in this case, Jeff Metcalf is at the center of that entire community.
The emotional framing that Carmelo himself could have used at any point in testimony and allocution in the sentencing phase, Carmelo had the ability to say, I did what I had to do to survive. It was the last thing that I ever wanted to do. It hurts me that a life was lost, and I'm deeply sorry for Austin's family. Framing like that is still legally safe because it expresses sorrow for the outcome, but not guilt for the act. And I think his legal team should have prepared him to give that type of statement. If it was me and my son, throughout the entire trial, it would have been remorse, 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 remorse. I'm so sorry this had to happen. I wish that it could have just happened a different way. Nobody wants to be here. Nobody wants to be missing a son. Nobody wants a son that's fighting a murder trial. But here we are, and they're just doing their best and we're just doing ours, which would be legal strategy. And again,
let's do this. Let's suppose it is your first day of law school and I am your criminal law professor. I am going to tell you some quick facts and you tell me the sentence that you would give in this scenario if you were the jury, if you were the judge. But first, and this is important, put right now for the record what you think Carmelo should be sentenced to in the comments. Put it below. Now, here is the quiz. I want everybody to take it. Here's the first case, 4 cases. A 16-year-old in Texas, basically the same age and state of Carmelo. He gets hammered, consuming alcohol, consuming drugs. He does the whole thing. He gets behind the wheel of a vehicle. Of course, he gets into an accident. Now, here's the thing. He kills 4 people. He intentionally gets hammered and gets cooked, and then he takes 4 lives. Now, little law student of mine, I'm gonna give you 5 seconds to determine how many years in prison you would give him. Ready? Go. And while you are considering your sentence, just know that in this case, the affluenza case, if you're old enough to remember, this young man, he took 4 lives. But how many years did the judge give him? Well, the judge gave him 10 years. But here's the kicker. It wasn't 10 years of prison. The judge gave him 10 years of straight probation. Here is the second of 4 scenarios. A football player gets hammered just the same. He gets into his Bentley, he's an NFL player, and starts speeding. Of course, he runs over a guy, kills him dead. How many years in prison did this NFL player get for the killing? Now, the victim is gone forever. You got 5 seconds to guess. How many years? And while you are considering how many years, all you football fans know that Mike Vick, the quarterback of the great Atlanta Falcons, got 2 years in prison for dog fighting. That's 2 years in prison for dogs. How many years did this NFL player get for actually killing a man? That's right. Dante Stallworth gets hammered, gets in his car, and kills a man in the street. He gets 30 days in the county jail. You ask, well, how can that be? What happened in that case? Well, I'll tell you. Dante Stallworth showed extreme remorse. He apologized, and most importantly, he reached a financial settlement with the family. Dante went into his pocket and got the family on his side. Now, let me ask you, did Carmelo Anthony's family do that? Dante slid the victim's family some money. Carmelo Anthony's family got over $500,000. Did Carmelo's mom do any of that? Did the mom even offer to pay for the funeral? Guys, I'm gonna tell you, you do not know there are so many levels to criminal law.
and again, I'm not a lawyer. I just think I'm an intellectual. But whether Carmelo should have testified or not, that's entirely a decision made by family, Carmelo, and the lawyer. The jury never heard his voice. To my understanding, nobody's heard his voice. And sidebar, but just think about that. Like, not having a voice to me is one of the worst things that I fear in my life. And this boy hasn't been heard since before the situation with Austin. So over the past year, we haven't heard him up until now, and he's about to go away for life, and he still hasn't said anything. That's a nightmare to me. I can't speak my piece. If I think something's being done that's wrong, if I want to just apologize, if I think there's an injustice, that's a horrible feeling to me. I can only imagine, especially as a kid. But the jury never heard his voice. The jury never heard the fear that he could express of how he felt in that moment. I think a well-prepared defendant describing the feeling of being surrounded, being trapped, I think that could have created a real reasonable doubt for the premeditation. So to me, that call is debatable in hindsight. Now next we go to, I don't think they pursued sudden passion enough. Now this mechanism is entirely within the defense's ability to argue. Now the jury rejected this claim. That means the defense either didn't build enough emotional foundation for it during the trial, or it failed to prepare Carmelo to speak directly to the jury during sentencing. I think this was a controllable outcome, and that could have been the difference between the 35 years he got and a drastically reduced sentence. No, I think the sentencing phase was unprepared, or should I say only his mother testified. They could have called character witnesses, teachers, coaches, community members. They could have had Carmelo address the court directly, and that's his legal right. And I think the stakes was too high to just not put more into that phase. Now here is the last section where I felt they might have been able to do better, and that's messaging and money. Now I don't know if this is far-fetched or not, but it's just a thought that I had, framing it as a self-defense issue instead of a race issue. Now I think the race issue raised the money, it raised a lot of money, but it narrowed the coalition. I think a self-defense framing would have appealed to a larger, broader multicultural community that believes in the right to defend yourself when you're threatened. By making it black versus white, they handed the opposition an easy counter narrative, and they alienated people who might have shown up for the self-defense argument. If there's one thing we know about Americans, we love our Second Amendment, and if they would have framed this case as a case that threatens your right to defend yourself, I think instead of having a ton of white opposition, you would have had a ton of white supporters. But of course, I'm curious what some lawyers think about that and what they think about that angle. And here's another one. I think the GoFundMe transparency with almost $700,000 raising that type of money, I think is the people want to know what you're doing with the money. And the more transparency, I think the safer people feel backing you and getting behind you. Also, some of your naysayers will have a lot less evidence and arguments against you. I think that people should have known actively where every dollar was going. But of course, this is if they weren't actually stealing, which I don't know what happened to the money or what they did with the money, but it's if they weren't stealing or mismanaging the money. I think absolutely, I would have, at least for me, I would have been telling everybody where every dollar was going, because ultimately, you probably would like more. And I think people would have been safe giving more had they known what was happening with the money anyway. Now, for fairness, I'm going to end with the things that were just not in their control. The racial composition of Collin County, the political makeup of the venue, what witnesses actually said on the stand, the strategy of the prosecution, and the outside media framing where you couldn't control it. Now, the appeal will focus on structural issues like the jury composition, but everything that I talked about, I think it was theirs to decide. Now I'm curious what comments I'll get on this video. I want you to remember that this is just a thought exercise. I don't have all the answers. I might not have any of the answers. But again, I just like to think, and I want you to think. I might be wrong about everything that I said, but at least I'm thinking, and I want to know what y'all think. So put your thoughts in the comments because I'm going to read all of them and I'm going to reply. And please, if you can, make sure you like the video. Thank you. And I hope that this brought you some sort of value, even if it was just entertainment. Now, after having already shot this video, I did a little research into the money. Some people are saying that he never got the money, other people are saying that they did get the money and they spent it. And I prefer to only deal with direct sources as opposed to third party he say, she say, someone saying, hey, the CEO told us this. I prefer to get it directly from the horse's mouth. Now, the donations were received on Give, Send, Go, and Give, Send, Go put out an official statement after the conviction. And here's what it says, and I'll put a screenshot so that you guys can see it. This was made on June 9, 2026. A jury has found Carmelo Anthony guilty in the death of Austin Metcalf. Our hearts are with Austin's family, his twin brother, and everyone grieving a loss that no verdict can undo. Give, Send, Go hosted a fundraiser connected to this case. Hosting a fundraiser has never been an endorsement of a person, their actions, their legal arguments, or their public statements. It's not just a declaration of innocence, and it is not a political statement. Give, Send, Go provides access to lawful fundraising, which we extend across the full spectrum of cases. This fundraiser was created to support pretrial needs, and those funds were dispersed over the past year for lawful purposes, including legal defense and family relocation. With that stated purpose now complete, the fundraiser has been closed and the funds will be paid out. Our policy is that a fundraiser's stated purpose stays accurate, so givers always know what they are supporting. Our prayer is to Austin Metcalf's family, for all those affected, and for justice, mercy, and peace in our community. So based on this, on GiveSendGo's website, June 9th, they've paid out all of the funds to the family. Now, if we get some contradicting information from a first-hand party, like Carmelo's mother, Carmelo's father, GiveSendGo, or representative, then I'm welcome to listen. However, as of right now, I'm going to take GiveSendGo's word. If anybody else has any contradicting information, I'd love to hear it and read it, because I just want the truth. I'm not invested in anything else.